Um, just so you know, I am promoting. I got a sponsorship with Raid Shadow Legends, so I have to do my sponsorship first.
Okay, go ahead.
Yep. Raid Shadow Legends is a freemium mobile role-playing game developed and published by Israeli game developer. They're an Israeli company? Wow, I did not know that. A subsidiary of a gambling company. Oh, never mind. We're not doing a promotion anymore. So I'll just send something back later. Anyway, welcome to another edition of Between Two Munchers, working title. I am your host, Stay-at-Home Stegosaurus. And this is, this happened before, but we're going to do it again properly now. And I'm very honored to be having this special guest with us. Their name is
Selicre.
Selicre. Nice to have you on.
Thanks.
Do you have regrets doing this now?
I mean, there's definitely something lingering in the back of my head, but anyway, let's just continue on.
Okay, I mean, you're here for the show. You can't get away anymore. So, first question I always ask everyone, what brought you into the SMW community?
Honestly, I have no idea. I have very limited memory for events of like that happened a couple of years ago, but I do remember that I'm pretty sure it was maybe Mario Maker or something like that, where I saw it, and then I was like, oh cool, that exists. And then one thing led to another. I downloaded Lunar Magic to look at something in like a base ROM, and then I just kind of started tinkering with it, and I made a first hack, which I never released anywhere except for like a small demo, and then I abandoned it, and that was that basically.
Okay, so you released a demo, but yet you've been within this community for quite some time. How about you just go back to your demo and just finish the hack with all the years of knowledge you have developed now?
Well, I did think of that, but the thing is that this hack is very stylistically different from what I would want to do, because, you know, that was just me fucking around. None of it is consistent or good, so to speak. It's like a weird standard-ish design that's intermingled with like really weird obstacles. So I feel like if I did try to remake it, I would probably just make a better set of levels. Maybe I will steal some of the better stuff from it. Like I had a level where you were chasing a lava wave that was in layer 2, and it was like slightly slower than the rest of the level. So that's a cool idea that I would like to revisit, but it was so janky that like in its current form, I would basically have to scrap the level and start over with nothing but the base concept, you know?
I totally understand that. A lot of times when you make your first stuff, you just end up scrapping it. I understand that. Though I give you a lot of credit that you can actually remember levels that you have created, while I don't remember what I had for breakfast this morning. So I give you a lot of credit for that. So I know you've entered a handful of contests, and I'm assuming you're going to be entering KLDC, but I know you have a newfound feeling towards KLDC where you're going to be having something special. You don't need to go into detail, but are you looking forward to this year's KLDC?
Oh, definitely. I know the competition is going to be pretty stacked, and I have a feeling that I have a pretty solid entry.
Well, first place or bust, right? So if you don't get first place, I'm going to be sorely disappointed in you. So I'm putting a lot of pressure on you to get first place.
I wouldn't. I'm really not entering this contest to win. I'm entering it because I found a new cool technique and I want to show it to, I want to show what you can do with SMW. I'm not really in it for any kind of placement or prize. If I do happen to win some prize, I'm probably just going to not use it, because I have no need for what are the prizes anyway? Aren't they like games? I don't play games.
Do I look like I know? Do I look like I should know? Do I look like I pay attention?
You don't look like you pay attention.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, if you win, just give it to me. I'll make good use of it. All right. Anyway, yeah, yeah. I probably should pay much more attention. But anyway, so I know that you have dived into the world of lunar magic and you have seen what lunar magic can do. But I think you have expressed that you expressed yourself that there's more that you could do with SMW and with maybe a better editor. Do you want to go on a little bit about that and your thoughts and feelings?
So there have been a lot of efforts over the years to build a better editor that wasn't Lunar Magic, and all of them seem to kind of just die. I'm not sure why that is. I'm pretty sure that most of those editors just tried to do the exact same kind of workflow as Lunar Magic, and they didn't really get off the ground because there wasn't really any reason to use them. Because A, the feature set wasn't as complete, and B, well, there's no improvements to workflow. So I realized that working with a disassembly is considerably easier because you have much more fine control over what the game does. You don't really have to mess with hijacks, you don't have to do anything that, Lunar Magic kind of forces on you. And all of that made me realize that, wow, I actually need to make my own editor. So that's what I've been doing for the past, I don't know when I started this project. I basically, first tried to do this with SMB3 All-Stars, and then I just kind of abandoned it because I didn't like the windowing system that I used. So then I realized that, hey, maybe maybe it's better to try it with SMW first, because I just know a lot more about the engine than SMB3 All-Stars. And right now I just have a bunch of a work in progress thing that kind of works. I've definitely made levels without Lunar Magic before, but they were kind of it's definitely not something that you would call a level editor. It's more of like a mock-up of a level editor that happens to function in the ways that I consider acceptable, but it's definitely not fit for general purpose use. I did, I made something for this KLDC, but it's certainly it doesn't even support sprites. So it's I have to manually type in the sprite stuff. And that's not something that most people are going to be willing to do. So it's definitely going to take a long time for this to materialize as a usable project. So probably don't, it's probably not going to be this year, is all I can tell you. It's going to be ready when it's ready.
And that's fair enough. There's no reason to rush any project if you don't need to. This is, a fun hobby for us, and if we can make our hobby more enjoyable, then we will welcome it, but we want to make sure it's a good product. Speaking on projects you're working on, do you have any other projects that you're going to be working on for this year and the following years that you've been tinkering with and such?
So, I have made a few projects, mostly as a way to test the kind of the disassembly approach. I've used tiled before in order to build levels, but I found it fairly inconvenient because you really don't have the kind of control over the game that you would want. The sprites, the solution I used for sprites was fairly limited. I only had 32 by 32 individual sprites, which means that platforms were kind of cut off, and that's not very good. So this time I switched to having a bespoke solution, which is basically a thing I threw together in Rust in I don't know, a day or two. And I remember a while back I made a little shader thing in GLSL that allowed me to draw tiles directly. like SNES styles that you would see in like an emulator. So I would be able to draw it directly in a very efficient way, and that would allow me to render a pretty massive amount of things at pretty much no cost. I originally developed it for an Atlas encoder, and what that is imagine you take a game and you increase the viewport to like 1080p, right? So you it's basically like a very, very zoomed out version of the game. And it was actually for the tasks of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which collected every possible ring in the game. And the reason why I did this was because the original video, like just the original game, was borderline unwatchable because of all of the off-screen stuff that was happening. And, you know, originally people did this kind of thing with video editing. But here, because all of the like rings are off screen and you would need to track each individual ring, with video editing that's pretty much infeasible. So the only real way to do this would be to make a program that would do this for you, which is exactly what I did. And that later kind of morphed into the level editor stuff that I'm doing right now.
Gotcha. And that's interesting. I'm excited to see new projects and new things to get up, and hopefully, you know, be tools that people can use and make people's lives easier in this world. You know, I always feel like it takes a while to become good at understanding how to use a level editor and how to use all the assets provided from SMW Central. And that can intimidate a lot of people, but if stuff can be used that would intimidate people and it's a lot easier to use, why not?
Yeah.
Last thing I have for you is, so people are coming into, people are coming into this community. It's still an ever-growing community. So if someone would come to you for advice on how to approach level making, using the tools and such, what advice would you give to a newcomer to this community?
Well, it depends on what you're trying to make, like, right? Because, like, if you're making Kaizo, I think the number one advice I can give somebody is to get playtesters. I don't actually think it's very important to know how to, like, to play Kaizo hacks first, because, I don't really play Kaizo myself, and I still manage to produce levels that are fairly, like, doable, by other people. So the biggest thing that you need to have is feedback from other people for how it plays, what you can change, and because everybody plays the game in a different manner, right? You may have one approach, but somebody else may see the same setup and actually do completely different inputs. And this can manifest in people like misreading things in just the right ways to where it just doesn't work for them at all, and they have no idea what to do, and that's obviously a bad thing. So, having lots of data points for like testing is a very important thing. Now, for standard, honestly, I don't know. Like, I don't really do standard, so I can't give good advice. I feel like the biggest thing I can say is just like pretty much everything you can think of has already been done in standard if you're doing like vanilla only. So maybe try to do something that is kind of like your own thing, and for that you need probably to know how to do assembly, which is like its own thing. So I don't know. Perhaps just like try to make something that is interesting to you personally, and then branch off into stuff that's, people would actually want to play.
No, that's very solid advice, and everyone has their takes, and I agree with get people to play tester stuff. We don't know necessarily. Sometimes when you try to make something, you think it's fine. When you hand it off to someone else, then they realize they're going to do something or approach something differently that you might learn going like, oh, I maybe I didn't think of this. So it really helps to expand ourselves and become better creators in that sense. And especially when you trust the people playtesting.
Yeah.
which this community is very well. We have, playtesting discords. You can request playtesters pretty easily and can reach out and the community is very helpful. For the most part, people are generally friendly and they're willing to listen and help out when you need help.
Yep.
That's about all I have. So, I always say Selicre, and I know that's wrong. Selicre, thank you for taking the time out of your day to join me for this interview. Good luck with KLDC this year. I have very high hopes, and I'm very excited to see what you're going to put out. And I hope we can do this again soon in the future.
All right, that was great. Thank you for giving me the time to ramble about completely different things to what you asked, but anyway.
Hey, anytime.